because there is no way you get used to death.
In just 3 months last year, police reported 263 gang murders in South Africa's Western Cape. 79 child deaths from gunshot wounds or stabbings, according to the local health department.
Yeah, so we're not coming at the best time.
As violence tears through communities, a team led by a local church pastor is trying to stop the violence.
More children than ever before are being recruited into gangs, some as young as 12. That's according to a recent report published by the research organization Global Initiative Against Transnational Crime. Local initiative is sparse and poorly funded, but some do try to rehabilitate gang members who want to turn their life around. One of them is Pastor Craven Ingo from the First Community Church.
The problem we do have is violence. Violence on a new level. I think what makes it very, very terrible now is because there is more children involved in the gangs. Because gangs are recruiting between the age of 8 years old and 15 years old. And when a child gangster runs into a group of children, acting like he's a child, the gang shoot the whole group of children. So you get 6, 7 children get shot and killed.
I spoke to Sam Moose, the South African journalist who worked with the Africa Eye team on this investigation. Sam grew up next to Hanover Park and is seen firsthand how gang warfare tears through families and how communities have had to fight to survive in its grip. He began by telling me what it is like living so close to Hanover Park.
Communities are very close-knit in Cape Town, and everybody basically knows everybody. And because of what you hear and see when you go into the areas, you are always made aware of the fact that, look, there could be a gang fight. The area you are in now belongs to Gang A or Gang B or Gang C. Be alert when you go there, be aware when you go there, because you are made very aware of the challenges people face in those areas and the results of those challenges they face, which is gangsterism.
Okay. So in your report, you've reported about gang members and some of those also caught in the crossfire, and the fact that there are young children that are getting caught up in these activities. And you spoke to a mother who is grieving her son who was hit by a stray bullet. Let's just listen to that clip.
I screamed for help and just went crazy. I pleaded to the Lord, please, not another child. I ran out and I didn't care who was standing outside. I shouted. Our neighbor came out, the one across the road. He's a medic. I told him, Devin, come to mommy and sing that song we always sang. I could see Devin wanted to, but he couldn't.
All right, Sam, could you explain to us what we've heard there? What's going on?
The mother that lost a child is in a very unfortunate but not a strange situation. What makes her situation unfortunate and more unfortunate than another mother losing a child is this is her second child that she loses in gang war or because of a stray bullet and being caught in the crossfire. A couple of years ago, she lost a 12-year-old daughter, and in this year, she lost a son, a young boy sleeping in what any parent would think is the safest place their child could ever be. Challenges exist. There's poverty, there's crime, there's violence. A bedroom of a mother, the bed where the mother sleeps and the father sleeps, is the safest place any parent can place their child. And the situation for her is a double blow because a few years ago, she lost a daughter standing on a corner meeting friends in crossfire, and her daughter was killed. So to her, there was already that pain, that trauma, that extra alertness, thinking about the safety of her children.
And let's talk about these gangs. Who are these people? What are they fighting for? And what is driving the existence in Hanover Park?
My comment and my opinion is experience-based entirely. It's because I grew up on the Cape Flats. I grew up with family members in areas like Hanover Park, like Mitchell's Plain, like Lavender Hill. And the sad thing is that the gang violence is economically based, but not for the gangsters themselves only. Remember, as with any other business, businesses look after territories and they look after spaces where if I'm selling a product here, I have to protect this territory and make sure my product is the only product available here. The same with gangs. Gangs have territories where they control, and if they control not only the sale and the disbursement of drugs. You're looking at the likes of crystal meth, dacha, heroin, etc. That drives the economy of the gang, and over and above that, there's also the taxation or protection fees that gets charged to whether it be transport service providers or businesses in the area. And the fights occur because of that, because now suddenly there's a gang with a bit more firepower, a bit more clout, a bit more members who are now wanting to come into the area where there's already a gang kind of controlling that territory.
Mm-hmm. So talk to us all about Pastor Craven and what he does, who he is. Is he effective? You say in the film he is in the middle of trying to negotiate or trying to secure a ceasefire, but how successful is he, and is he the only one in that community doing all this work?
Pastor Craven is the only person in the community that has a formalized structure that looks after ceasefires. Yes, there are other community groups and religious groups, whether it is people at churches, people at schools, community, civil rights groups that try to implement ceasefires. But he has the science behind it. He understands how the hierarchy and the rules of the gang works. And the challenging thing is, yes, his work is effective, but right now, at this point in time, he's funding it from funds that he raises here and there. It's not a funded program by the government. It's not a funded program by an organization.
Right. I'm wondering if there is any support from the police at all.
If I can set the scene for you, Anova Park is not an area that you can sit at one spot and watch the whole area, because it's a maze of flats, and some areas have informal structures and all those kind of things. So policing is only effective in the area where the vehicle or the officer is or the police station is. The moment the road takes a turn, people are going to take their chances, and we witness to that every day. The policing is also just effective if people report the crime or if the police are on the road all of the time. Support for communities in the area, personally, policing, I feel, is not the way to go, because the shooting is not the problem. The shooting is because of a result of another problem that exists in the community.
South African journalist Sam Moose. As a response to the Africa Eye film, the South African police say they've increased deployments across Cape Flats with a team stationed in Hanover Park. You can watch the full Africa Eye documentary, Inside Cape Town's Gang Wars, on BBC iPlayer in the UK or on the BBC Africa YouTube page. The historic town of Djenne in Mali, renowned for its UNESCO-listed mud brick or earth-built architecture, is under increasing strain from climate change, poverty and insecurity. Frequent flooding and extreme weather have damaged many buildings, while the high cost and efforts to maintain traditional structures have become overwhelming for the residents. The decline in tourism doesn't help. While the UNESCO status protects the town's heritage, it also limits practical adaptations, meaning concrete, which some see as more sustainable in current conditions, cannot be used to build homes. Lazar Elundu Asomo, the Director of World Heritage at UNESCO, explains why Djenne remains on the World Heritage list despite the challenges its residents face.
In recognition of the site's deteriorating condition, which I will say was mainly due to the growing insecurity linked to the armed conflict in northern Mali since 2012, the World Heritage Committee then inscribed Djenne on the World Heritage List in danger in 2016. And since then, UNESCO and the international community, all the partners, has been working alongside the local communities and authorities, the local actors to support not only protective measures, but also to support the communities in general, from assisting them to rehabilitate their traditional homes, train local masons, continue to build awareness. And so the idea is to continue helping the efforts that the communities have been doing to protect this heritage since many generations, many years.
Lazar Ilundu Asomo from UNESCO. Despite the support UNESCO says it's providing to locals, rising costs and difficult living conditions make any improvements harder to implement. As residents struggle between preserving tradition and meeting daily needs, legal restrictions on altering protected buildings have sparked calls to reconsider the town's heritage designation. But there is strong agreement that the iconic Great Mosque of Djenné, the world's largest mud brick mosque, must remain untouched. Dr. Ishan Losen Odiawa is a Nigerian architect and an art historian. She spent time in the historic town as part of her studies. She's been telling me more about the challenges facing Djenné and how to balance preservation with the needs of its people.
In many places, earth buildings have disappeared or are disappearing for the very reason that they are denigrated as architecture for the poor. But in other parts of the world, and I'll give you parts of Southwest US, earth buildings, also called adobe buildings, are built by those who have the means to do so. There is a perception that it is UNESCO that is forbidding the construction of or the use of, modern materials. I will come back and say it is that there has to be a conscious negotiation of what exactly can we do in this space. Given that some of these buildings are over 100 years old, the question is, how do we begin to modify these buildings to fit in with today's world in terms of plumbing, which is an issue? Mm-hmm. We're not taking that knowledge, right? We say, oh, this is local, this is traditional. We're not saying, how do we move from 1.0 of that knowledge to 2.0? Because today we have the tools, the science and the technology at our disposal that allow us to scale up, that allow us to mechanize. What we're not saying is that people from these cultures, Africans themselves, are not taking up the responsibility to move these things to the next level. And so what it is, there's cement. So cement is very easy to use. Everybody goes. So we're having loss of knowledge.
So for, the people that live in Djenné that perhaps may be feeling there are burdens that come with having to maintain the architecture of the place, what would you say to them? What are some of the things that they should be thinking about in order to appreciate this a bit more?
It's not my place to tell them what they should think about, because it's their heritage, it's their place. They have aspirations, and those aspirations need to be expressed. I think there's a negotiation that needs to take place between the people of Djenné and those who are in charge of managing the site for the purposes of its inscription on the World Heritage List, to say, what are your aspirations? On the one side, the population's aspirations. On the other side, it is the aspirations of those who are, in the public sector, who have the responsibility to maintain the World Heritage Site for the purposes of the convention. And then to come to a common understanding to say, this is where we can meet. We will not lose the inscription. We will not lose the fact that it's a World Heritage Site. But we'll also meet your aspirations as a people to say you want to live in better conditions in contemporary societies.
Dr. Ishan Losen Odiawa. History is littered with empires that have risen and fallen. Some exist shrouded in myth. Others have more concrete remains that can be traced back to them. What usually happens is that they are left back in the mists of time, but not in this case. This is the story of Bir Tawil, a tiny triangle inland in the far north of Sudan and farthermost south of Egypt. There are desert sands galore and gold. How much? We don't know. Interestingly, neither Egypt nor Sudan claim it, but there have been claims made for it before. The one I'm going to tell you about now is the latest. So, how do you create a city-state within a state? I've been speaking to Dr. Mansa Suleiman Al-Kushi, who is the head of the Royal Council of the Kingdom of Kush.
What inspired me, as I said, is creating a space for people of African descent, either African diaspora and African in the continent. So, but what makes me more interested, and I saw Singapore was built out of nothing. I saw Dubai and the desert was built. I said to myself, Africa has more than these two examples. Why can't we build something for our own continent?
Okay. How many people are involved in this mission of yours?
When I say we, it's a few African Americans, people of the tribe called Ababda, the Nubian, the Kushites, and some other African tribes.
Are you yourself from this area? You know, it's a small area, Bill Tawil. Somehow have you found out that this might be the area that you came from or your ancestors came from, because you were born in New York?
Yes, absolutely. We did a DNA. Most African Americans saw this process of testing where they're coming from. And indeed, I'm coming from that particular area.
Tell me about how you got there when you were going to plant the flag.
The first time we flew to Sudan, we arrived at the Khartoum airport. We stayed at some Sudanese friend's house. From there, we took a car and we drove to Abu Hamad. This a little bit towards the north. And from there, we drove to the kingdom.
Once you got there, what did you see? How was it like? Was it this kingdom that you're envisioning?
It was just a desert and some rocky mountains, and it was absolutely no lives, except you'd see the trace of the Nubian of areas such as Ababda and all the Kushite passing by. I thought it would be like a little village, but there was nothing in there. And we put our tent, and then we planted the flag.
Okay, do you know if the flag flies until today? How long has it been there since?
The flag, it kept falling apart because of the wind of the desert. So, but the day we planted the flag, since you say how it has been, it was June 13, 1993.
Tell me why you want this place, because it is considered internationally a no man's land. No country is claiming it. No one appears to be wanting it, but you want it. Why?
Why? Because I think we are looking to unify the continents and the African diaspora. One is also that we believe that we should not believe too much in these artificial boundaries. If we establish this neutral land for any African person that wants to acquire the citizenship of this new country, he will become a way for us to come together and build an alternative for our issues. That's why I want this place.
This is not the first claim to this territory, though. There have been at least 3 others. But why is this claim different? Dr. Al-Kushi again.
So the difference between us and those claims is that we are actually in physical in place and doing some work, not only with our people on the ground, with also people, the neighboring countries, such as Sudan, right? So we're not sitting somewhere and just claiming things.
Do you fear one day Egypt or Sudan might show up with some agreement from several centuries back and say, we want this? Because that does happen from time to time.
Yes, we saw the example of Saddam Hussein and Kuwait. There is a possibility one of these may show up at one point to say, hey, this is our territory because of this map. But at that time, having already a recognition, having been a sovereign nation, that will be aggression into another sovereign nation at that point.
Talk to me about how you will get this to be recognized internationally.
To become a country, you need 4 things. One is a territory with a defined border, which we have. Second, you need permanent population, which we have. Third, you need a government.
Well, except they are not there. This population, as far as I understand, they are not in this territory at the moment, right?
They are there. We have open markets. We have activities. People are living there. We have homes. We have schools. We have buses. We trade. People are permanently living there at the moment.
Okay, of the 7 million, is it all of them or how many exactly?
No, not above the 7 million. As of now, of course, we have a lot of nomadic people also in there, especially Ababda. At a certain point, it goes up to 4,000, depend on the season, the heat. Sometimes it's reduced to 150 people, 300 people, and sometimes it goes to 4,000 plus. We have a permanent residence there. And if you do a Google map, you type Birtowil, you can zoom in and you will see that there were homes and activities in there.
Dr. Mansa Suleiman Al-Kushi. Focus on Africa was produced by Amy Leibovitz, Yvette Twagira Maria, and Nyasha Michelle in London, and Richard Kagoe in Nairobi. Kani Sharp was the senior journalist in charge, and Jonathan Greer was the technical producer. Our editors are Andre Lombard and Alice Mudengi. I'm Charles Gitonga. Thanks for listening.
Say no to the ordinary. Embrace the extraordinary, because we are the voice of the people. Today, 95.1 FM.
Today, 95.1 FM.
To the heart, I never kissed a mouth that tastes like yours. Strawberries and something more. Oh yeah, I want it all. Let the